I think we are live. Hello, everybody. Oh my goodness. I am so excited that you guys are here today because this is my first guest as a solo host. So, everybody, my name is Leanne. Hello. I am the host of First Day Pod. You are missing my boyfriend. I'm missing him too, Michael Govier. He can't join us today, but he sends his regards. And I am so grateful to be joined today by Mr. Ed Wassef. I pronounced that right, correct?
Yeah, it sounded better than I could do it.
And this man is on a journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and wanting to fulfill his purpose. I am so excited for you to be here, Ed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome.
Oh, I'm sure you know I listened to the show ever since I was told about it, and love listening. And to be on the other end, it's a I just feel I can't say the words. I'm just feeling flabbergasted. Is that
that's a good one?
All right.
I love it. I love it. I am too. So I'm super excited. So yes, you are one of our biggest fans. We are so grateful. If we don't see you in the comments, then I get nervous because I'm like, oh my goodness, do we even bother doing it? Really? So I'm so excited for you to be here. Everybody. So Ed's journey, I was just talking to him before the show because we've known each other for a while now. And I feel like we're friends now. We met, really, I think we solidified our friendship in our book club. You asked to join, and now we're like, meet every week. And I just feel so close to you. So there is so much to get into today. This man so I asked him how long he's been on this personal growth journey. And I was expecting 10 years, 15 years. 2019 is when 2018, 2019 is really where it really started off. So that is just a hiccup ago. And in this time, he has totally transformed. He's been through a lot of trauma. We're going to get into all that. And he has lost over 100 pounds. Incredible, absolutely incredible. But more than that, he has lost probably more than 100 pounds just in the trauma and the shame and all of this. So Ed, let's kind of get started. I really want to make sure that I get into this part, and I'm just going to go right into it because it's so important. So we've had people on the show that have gone through suicide, or they haven't gone through with it, thankfully, because they were on the show, but that they have struggled with it. And you have struggled with it. So I would like you just to be able to talk about a little bit. If you can tell the people how many times, because I'm every time you tell me, my heart sinks, and I'm just so grateful that you weren't great at it.
So you want me to start off saying how
isn't this awful that I'm just going to jump right into this?
Okay. No, but that I'm going to show how much of a failure I could be. No, I'm just joking.
Yes, thankfully. Thankfully.
I can joke about it, and I know it's a serious topic, but I can joke about my experiences because I don't know who that person was anymore. So that's why I can joke about it, but I know it's not a funny situation.
No.
But I remember when to answer the question, like I don't remember the exact number, but I believe I didn't count every time, but about 13, 14 times that I attempted. And the very first time I was 20, and I had horrific flashback nightmares of some childhood sexual abuse, and it was like I was reliving it. And that was my first attempt during my first year university, and obviously
that was one of your first kind of times of remembering that trauma.
That was my only time. That was my only time. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess what they call it is dissociative, and I guess it's a protective mechanism, and I believe it's common for people at early age to deal with that type of trauma. So I had no knowledge of it, and only when after a few years, I didn't do it right away, but I think I was like 27, 28 when I confronted the person,
Oh, wow.
and that was the only confirmation that I knew that had happened. But the dreams were extremely vivid.
Wow. Wow.
And then I guess several years later, um, my wife of we were 1 week shy of being 4 years married, so still very early on.
Mhm.
But she was like first my best friend, um, totally my best friend,
Beautiful.
and she got pregnant, and she had some issues that we never really knew what it was until it was very late, and she ended up passing away from lung cancer a few weeks after giving birth to our only child, our
Oh,
son Alexander. And I never fully, I never fully got over the childhood abuse. I got over, and the other abuse and the other issues and the other abandonment stuff, like all the crap. Sorry,
yeah.
all the
No.
stuff that I told myself, and like I was numb for about 5 years, and trying to work and deal with just I wasn't able to grieve because I had a uh, an infant, toddler, whatever to look after,
Right.
and trying to work and try to do stuff in the house and try to do all the other responsibility stuff. But I was a kid myself, so it was foreign to me.
Mhm.
And so when I finally felt it, it was just too overwhelming. And um, to make, and you can create all these stories, and I'm very good at creating these stories in my head that I blamed myself for my wife's passing, and it doesn't
Wow.
matter why, but I blamed it. Our child was conceived through a donor, so it wasn't even genetically from me, and it was something I couldn't understand. And I had, I believe they call it survivor's remorse. So all that grief and all that pain and all that anger, um, I attempted, and attempted again and again and again. And one of the things I remember is I was so down. I was like so out of it. My family thought, I was well over 500 pounds. I couldn't function. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go. I was skipping. I mean, missing work. Couldn't even go down the stairs. Couldn't look after myself. Showering was difficult. So couldn't even look after my son. And so they thought, maybe they should look after him while I get some help. But I just took it so much like a victim. Like I can't even look after my kid, and I felt like I'm letting down, my wife. Like it's the one thing she asked me to do, and I can't do it. So
Wow.
I uh, I overdosed on some things, and I I would wake up on the floor. I would I was just drenched in sweat, drenched in vomit and whatever. Hopefully, I'm not too descriptive and
No,
and
it's
whatnot.
mhm.
And I was so angry. I was angry. Why am I still alive?
Wow.
And I was angry at God. Like, what is it that I got to do?
Mhm.
And so I would wait a week or so, build up more energy so I can just do it again and
Wow.
again and again.
And where's Alexander in this? Did they take your
Yeah.
family? Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Wow. Okay. And when you were when you were going through and you just tell me if I'm like asking too many personal questions, but I'm grateful that you're here to be able to talk about this. Was there any point in there um that you looked at it like, okay, I need to get help with this, or were you just determined to make this work?
Well, I guess um, I reached a point where I have no choice. I either do something and get help, uh, or I or I do nothing and eventually get the attempts right. Like
Mhm.
I knew that was my only two options,
Mhm.
and I was. I will answer your question, but
You're
I'm
good.
not blaming. I'm not blaming my dad, but it's just a culture, and I think it's a really old culture, and hopefully we don't do this anymore to our kids. But I was raised with two other brothers, and men don't cry, men don't show emotion, men don't ask for directions. But that's not the point here.
Mhm.
But and so asking for help was a real
Wow.
was really hard. And the other thing too is I didn't know what help I wanted. I didn't know what help I needed. I just felt like empty.
Wow.
I hated myself so much. I just felt empty. Like, what help was I looking for? What
Right.
help would help? So I was lucky. I've always been lucky, and I know that sounds funny, but I've been lucky with timely.
Clearly.
No joke.
Mhm.
I've been lucky with um, things just coming in my way at the right time, at the right place. So I was lucky enough at work. I was able to get the time off, and I found a place that I could go to, and it helped a little
Mhm.
with me dealing with a lot of my past stuff. But I guess it helped me really realize how much pain I was in and the trauma that the abuse stuff from the child affected me.
Mhm.
And that's where I knew I had to address some stuff. But what I really what the problem was in that group is, great, we got a hold of what the issue was, but we didn't get the underlying issue, and the underlying issue for me has been food addiction.
Okay.
So that was the underlying issue that never got resolved. um, and I went to after I left, I still was suicidal. I still attempted. So I went to another place, and that was more for the abuse, um, and still didn't really help because I still didn't address the underlying issue.
Right.
Still had, like, I was getting better, and I was away, but in for a period of 3 years, I worked for 1 year. Uh,
Oh, wow.
Money was hard. Um, Knowing when I was going to be able to get my kid back was hard. Knowing what was actually the right thing for me to do was very hard.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. And I'm just gonna pop this up here really quick. Michelle says, "Is it luck or synchronicity?" So that's a
Okay, it's probably. I understand the question. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
no. I was just gonna say I think that's a really good question. Thank you, Michelle. And I'm also gonna put this one in there. Thank you, David. Love this guy, don't we all? You're incredible. I'm even learning more now um, from this. So anyway, so luck or synchronicity? What are you thinking?
Synchronicity, because I didn't know then, but now I know. Just the fact, just the fact that I'm born. Like, if you think about, uh, I'm not good with philosophical things, but it's just something that I think of sometimes. You think of how many billions of eggs, if you go through, what women have, and the billions of sperm, and I was chosen as one.
Yes.
And a lot of us have been chosen as the one to meet, and with all the issues, just the fact that I'm alive means I'm
Yeah.
worthy, means I'm worthy, and means that whatever the word you want to use, universe, God, higher power, I don't know, the trees, the weather, I don't, the sun,
Mhm.
uh, I'm being guided. I am being looked after. I just was so much a victim, so much into myself and my depression and anxiety. I was just so trapped. Like, I think if I was in a prison, it would have been better. I was in a mental prison that I created myself. So I wasn't able to see any of this victim stuff. I wasn't able to see these things I created. But definitely now I can look back and say I was guided all the way through.
Yeah.
Synchronicity, love, whatever.
Yes. And can I ask a question? Because we can get back to all this, and you're gonna get, well, you already are used to me. I jump around. So if we get off tangent and you want to get back to any part of the story at any point, please just be like, I just want to get back. But I have a question about prior to getting to college, and having that flashback that kind of catapulted you into this. Do you feel like you had any sort of, I mean, you went through the trauma as a child, but then do you feel like you had any kind of mental health issues up until that point, like grade school, high school? Were you dealing with food addiction at that point? Was you like, how that? What
Oh,
did that look like?
okay. So let me first tell you a little funny story.
Okay,
So this is when you look back. So this is I will answer the question.
of course, or
So
don't.
I will, I promise. So my first experience that when you look back is of food addiction is, and some people who are here from my group have already heard the story 100 times. But anyways, it's funny. So if you haven't heard it, um, when my earliest memory, 4 or 5 years old, I couldn't tell you. I know the apartment I was at, but where I was living at. But my mom sometimes would give, one of three boys, and she would give us sometimes at random a little piece of chocolate before we go to bed. And it didn't taste great, but it still felt like a treat.
Mhm.
And so one day I was looking for this stash. Like, why do I only get a piece now and then? Well, I get a small piece.
Mhm.
And so I went and found her stash, and she had like 4 boxes. I wish I learned how to read, but I found 4 boxes, and I ate them all. Unfortunately, I don't know if anybody knows or heard of something called X-Lax. So it's a
Uh-oh.
very, very good aid to help prevent constipation. But if you take 4 boxes of it, you would probably need to go to the hospital and get some IV for some dehydration issues.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that was me, and it's not even good chocolate. Yeah,
Now,
it's been taken off the market.
don't you think that that would have, I don't know, like, stop you? It feels like when you have too much tequila when you're 19 years old and then you're off of it because you're so sick. Did that not turn you off of?
Okay, so this is the whole thing. If you're a food addict, you're an
Yeah.
alcoholic, you're a drug addict.
Yeah.
I know some people say, "Oh, it's only food. It's not really an addiction." Well, first off, you heard about my 14 attempts. So for me, there's no difference.
Hmm.
And this whole victim thing, no difference.
Hmm.
Me being like stuck in being a child and so immature, don't know how to deal with emotion. That's all the same. But the other thing too is once I start, I can't stop until it's all gone. I don't
Yeah.
care if I'm bleeding out of my nose, I got heartburn, I got pain, I got the over 500 pounds, and yet I still kept eating.
Yeah.
I still
Right.
kept eating. So that's not going to stop me until it runs out.
Right.
That's what's going to stop me.
Right.
And then, so to answer your question, I had no idea, no concept of the abuse. I was a class clown. I was funny. People, um, like I was like the life of the party, even though there was no party.
Hmm.
And, but since I was like 15, 16 years old, I was prescribed antidepressants because I always thought from an early age, if I could only gain control of my eating and my weight, like I was always husky, fat, those different terms, your baby fat,
Hmm.
husky, and then it just was fat. And I used to get, I don't know why people think this is okay, but they like if you're 500 pounds and you're able to walk around the street, you're fat. Like I don't, I know I am, but some people needed to remind me that I was. Some people felt they needed to throw food at me just in case I didn't know.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but it's okay because that's But this is the thing. Like I took it like I'm bad. I'm unworthy. I deserve it. Just because I'm heavy. Just
Mm,
because I look different. But it was no worse than what I did to myself. Like I believed it.
yeah. Yeah. And that's what we're reading in the book. So, guys, I'm just gonna like do our little thing about the book club, just because it's here right now. So, our book club, if for any of you guys that watch us and you know, we do the book club every Monday night Eastern time at 8 o'clock. It runs for an hour. This week we are doing one full book at one time. Normally we break them up. This one is going to be the Four Agreements. Oh, I love it because it's got a green background, so some of that's cool. Anyway, we're doing the Four Agreements. And then the following week, so if you guys are going to join us, we're going to be doing Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. This is by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Really good. So if you guys are thinking about joining us, you might want to buy the book now. That way you can have it in time. But yeah, that's one of the things in the Four Agreements. Oh, and I wanted to do just a quick little shout out. Raven and Heather, we've got 2 new members that are coming on for this book. I don't know if they're going to stay with us, but they're coming on for this book. So thank you guys so much for joining. And if you guys want to join, if you're listening to this, Monday night would be a great time for you to come on. You can just DM us or email us at firstdaypod@gmail.com. But in the Four Agreements, that's what they talk about. They talk about you will only take abuse from people as much as you abuse yourself. So if somebody abuses you, even just a little bit more than you abuse yourself, you won't take it. You'll walk away. But because we berate ourselves, blame ourselves, shame ourselves, do all these things, we will accept as long as they don't pass that threshold. So that's totally normal, unfortunately.
And to add to that, I tried all different ways of trying to deal with that. Yes, I have my humor, but I would, try to fight everybody who said something. That got really tiring.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, a lot of people were stronger than me, so that it hurt physically and emotionally. And then I also got, I also tried, oh, maybe I'll just make fun of myself. Then that way, I'll beat you to the punch.
Right.
And it hurts just as much as if the words come from yourself as from someone else. So I tried it all, and none of it helped.
Yeah.
But that was then. It's like I'm not that person anymore.
But that's also a good tip. So for people that are there right now that are listening to this and saying, "Oh, but because I think a lot of us have been through that at different levels where you just think, okay, I know what's coming, so I'll just say it, and then then it'll deflect, and then people won't make fun of me, but they still do." They still do. And now it's just you're berating yourself. And so you're allowing them to do it. So that is really good advice. I'm going to pull this up. Peter May. I don't know who that is. You might know him. He says, I had the privilege to meet Ed in person in Ottawa a couple of weeks ago. The moment I met him and his son, I knew what an extraordinary man he is. A kindred soul for sure. Nice to hear you're sharing. Well, thank you, Peter. Yes. I cannot wait, Ed, to meet you in real life. Like, I feel like I know you. I feel like we're best friends, and I have never met you in real life. So thanks, COVID, but that's coming.
Just so you know, what you see is what you get.
So, yes, that's what I love.
I don't know how to be somebody else.
Thankfully, because it never really works. It never really works. So yes, and Kelly is excited for some new blood in the group. Raven's actually one of her friends, so I'm super excited. Kelly, thank you so much for inviting them. Okay, so where do we want to continue on with this?
If it's okay, I'm kind of tired of like complaining. There was I did turn it around.
Yes. Let's go there. And it's so important because I really wanted, and I'm sorry if it was uncomfortable, maybe like jumping right into that, but I want people to understand because it's, thankfully it was, 12, 13, however many times it was, and it didn't work out because you're here now, thank God. And you're going to be able to meet your purpose and help so many people. But I want people to understand that it's not it's not just an event. It is such a struggle. And there's a lot of people that do try multiple times. Sometimes they don't get the chance to try again, unfortunately. But as weird as that sounds, but so I do. The hope that you give that you can come out of this is just super inspiring. So yeah. So how did you come out of it, or
So, like the question that Michelle asked earlier,
Mhm.
was it luck or was it
Synchronicity?
synchronicity?
Yes.
Um, Synchronicity for sure. I could not have done this on my own. Yes, I have to accept the help or accept the signs. Everyone I'm sure heard of the joke, um, where God sent, somebody a helicopter, a boat, a rope, and a lifesaver. Um, but the guy never took it because he thought he was going to get saved. But God tried all these attempts. So
Yes.
I have to take these things as, an opportunity. That's true. But these were also given to me, given in spades, and so much. And so one of the, I just think, was the most monumental is in November of 2018. I went to a movie, I guess movie premiere. It was like a documentary, not solely on food addiction, but on how harmful food is, and how to treat it, or how to get how to get better from, as treating it not like a diet. I don't
Mhm.
know if I explained that right. So anyway, so I took a
That is a
couple of
huge thing. There's a big difference between just trying to lose a few pounds and going on a diet and changing. Yeah.
yeah, just to go on that note, I've I've lost weight umpteen times. I've lost over 100 pounds more than 6 times.
Wow.
I've lost 200 pounds at least twice.
Wow.
I've even had the lap band surgery, and I lost over 100 pounds, but I had to have it removed because they call it pinging. I wasn't like, those still, after 5 years, I was still throwing up,
Oh,
and
wow.
I had some internal bleeding, so it came out. But then that was like a floodgate. That's when everything could happen, and I was grieving, so it was a bad time. But anyways, so I went to this movie, and I had everything all prepared. This would have been attempt number 14, 15, whatever, right? I had everything prepared at home, and I said, if I don't pick up something that I need, that motivates me, that changes something that I see, I'm going to do it again.
No pressure documentary, but
No pressure. This is what I said to the universe.
yes.
And so I even asked the question. I said, but what if you're depressed? How do you go through this if you're depressed? And I went through. I leave the auditorium when it's, the movie's over, and the hallway, I don't know what you'd call it, the lobby, whatever,
Yeah.
foyer, was just packed with people. And so there's this woman at the other end of the foyer. I don't know what it is. I just noticed her. She's like 4'9", 4'10", and if she's listening, maybe she's 6'10". Okay, I'm sorry, but she's
Yes.
not the tallest woman. And
Mhm.
I noticed her, and it was, I don't understand light, energy, auras. I don't want to talk about something I don't understand, but
Mhm.
I saw some type of light that drew me to her, and it was like I was guided to her. I'm not trying to sound religious or whatever, or I don't understand it, but I was
Mhm.
drawn to her. And she just said, she knew me from the meetings. I didn't recognize her,
Wow.
and you know, she just offered help. She just listened to me. All she did was listen. That was it. Didn't
Wow.
say, this is what you need. This is what you should do. Go get help. You're hurting your kid. How come you can't do this? No, just listen. And, you'll see me at the Sunday meeting at this place. So, whatever. And
Beautiful.
I didn't do it. I didn't. I'm like, that was like a sign to me.
Wow.
And another one, um,
And did you ever see
oh,
her again? Did you see her at the meetings and stuff? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I should talk about this or not, But yeah,
Mm.
it doesn't matter. So as you can imagine, I'm at a bottom. So you get this person that shows um, some attention,
Caring. Yeah.
caring,
Mhm.
and so I took it, um, or I saw something that obviously wasn't there, and I built up some type of fantasy relationship in my head. But that was more of my crap. But yeah, we got through all that garbage, and we're amazing, amazing friends.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so
You don't
wonderful.
lose people like this. You
Yeah.
don't. You don't. They don't come. I was lucky enough to meet her. I was
Unless you
stupid enough
push
to
them
meet.
away.
Exactly. And so I had to take some time away to kind of, it was part of my growth.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that for sure. And then another one was, he might be listening. I can maybe say his name,
Mhm.
but Dave. I was actually in Dave Wolf. I was actually in one
Yes.
of his meetings, and it was actually I was upset about my um, abandonment issues that I had that I created this fantasy with this other woman.
Mhm.
And I'm in this group with him, and he saw how distraught I was, and so he just said, "You know what? Like after the meeting, can we talk?" And I'm like, he's got a young kid at the time. I think it was only one, but
Mhm.
still, he didn't have like a lot of time, and he's giving his time to me.
That's beautiful. And I'm going
Um,
to just interject super quick for any of you guys that have listened to the show. You know who Dave is. He's been on quite a few times. He's been on with his mom, Judy. Um, and if you haven't, I will. Oh gosh, I'm not exactly sure how to do it, but I will find out what episodes they were, and you guys can go back and listen to a couple of them because yeah, he's a wonderful man. Yeah.
totally, totally. So
Mhm.
that didn't go forgotten. So that was another impactful thing, and I would say that was my last time where I was a victim. Last time I felt like a victim,
Wow.
because at that moment, there was a line I kept hearing this in my head, a line from a movie. Um, I won't get it right, but the hopefully I get the point of it. Is you either get busy living or get busy dying.
Yes, I love
Shawshank
that.
Redemption. Just I think the other term is uh, shit or get off the pot. Sorry. So
Yes.
basically, that's what I decided. And we tell ourselves so many lies. We tell ourselves so many stuff. That I'm worthless. I'm a failure. I'm whatever. Why don't I start telling myself, you're lovable, you're worthy, and even if I don't believe it, there's a term that I've heard: fake it till you make it. And
Yes.
I said it to myself enough where that was the last time I am ever going to go back to being a victim. So that was impactful. And then I don't want to forget that my family, like yes, initially it was hurtful, but it needed to be done to look after my son and give me the opportunity to go get help.
Yes, thank you.
So I like, and I could go on. I could be talking, for 3 days about all the people that have helped me and all the things. I went to a retreat in the beginning of February, and a priestess told me, you know, you are loved, and I probably heard that from other people, and I didn't believe it, but there was just something in that moment.
You were
So
ready
yeah,
to hear it?
I was ready to hear it.
Yeah.
So synchronicity is a good word. I like to say grateful. I like to say I feel blessed.
Yes.
Um, and yeah,
That's
so
coming across. That's coming across like tenfold is how grateful you are. And that I think that means a lot. Now, I do want to ask, do you do a lot of people talk about doing like gratitude practices that they do like where they'll write it down or they'll get in the mirror. Do you do any of that kind of thing, or is it just you're grateful for the people in your life and as they come?
um, I'll answer the question by yes, but
Okay.
that's not enough. It's
Hmm.
a good start.
Hmm.
It helped me to begin, but gratitude is not just feeling. It's an attitude and it's an action. You show gratitude. You don't just think it. So yes, I write it down, but by you writing it down, or just like telling myself I'm worthy and I'm loved,
Mhm.
that it's a great beginning to write it down. And I'm not belittling anybody who writes it down. I think it's a great start, but it's how you live your life. And so it's what helped me to find my purpose is when I can interact with somebody else out of gratitude. I'm
Mm.
grateful for the presence, just that I'm communicating with them, just to get in that moment, get the experience of interacting with them. And hopefully they will feel that gratitude for interacting with me in that moment, because that's all we have.
Yes.
And I can be of service, I can be useful to them. I find that's how I identify my purpose.
Amazing. Amazing. This is why we adore you, Ed. Everybody in book club adores you. Everybody that, well, clearly Peter just met you a couple weeks ago and just thinks you're extraordinary. That's not a light term. Um,
That could be because of my son. He is extraordinary. I'm biased, I know, but he's awesome.
he looks like a cutie. Yes. Yes, he does. Okay. So now you've obviously, like, you've gone through depression, anxiety, all of that. Do you feel like that made your addiction worse? Or were they mutually kind of exclusive, that they were both kind of, you just had to deal with one when it was bad and then one when it was bad? Like, how did you navigate all of that?
And so at the time, I didn't navigate very well. Like I was doing, taking medications and trying to do these little things. But in learning about food addiction and
Mhm.
doing my program and my abstinence, like so, there's foods I don't eat. And for me, I don't like talking about what I don't eat because it's very specific for other people. It's not like if you're an alcoholic, you don't drink alcohol. So
Mhm.
food is something totally different. It's very unique and specific for the individual. But
Mhm.
I follow an abstinence program, and by doing that and removing the sugar from my brain and getting rid of the fog, I realized that my addiction, I was born with it, and maybe not maybe, I'm 100% sure in my perspective that the traumas didn't cause my addiction. The traumas maybe had made them manifest, or whatever the word is, to kind of come up maybe sooner, or
Okay.
maybe to magnify them.
Mhm.
And it was the sugar and the way I was eating in order to treat my addiction, or not even treat my addiction, to the way I was dealing with life because I couldn't deal with life,
Mhm.
was what brought on the depression. It's the sugar, the processed foods, the amount I was eating that causes depression, anxiety. It wasn't, sure, the trauma might have brought it on, but it was totally my food addiction, like the
Wow.
chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had the depression, or for so long and lasting, for since I'm 51. I'll be 52 in November, God willing. And I didn't know this until I'm 48 years old, that it's the food that caused the disease of depression and anxiety.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And so now, do you feel, because you're still on the journey, and I mean, like, I feel like this kind of a journey we're on for the rest of our life, if we're ever blessed enough to be able to jump onto this journey, because some people just live in, they don't even, they're not even aware that there's this life that we can be living. Um, do you feel like you'll ever, because this, okay, do you ever feel like you will just have a little bit of sugar down the road? Like, once you hit a goal or do any of that, do you feel like you'll introduce that down the road? Or do you just feel like this is just, that it's a drug that you're not interested in anymore? Like, and
And
I know you can't speak for the future, but
I
for the way
can,
you feel now.
I
Okay.
can, I
Okay.
can. Did you hear? I don't know, the last 40 minutes of what I've been saying. Do I want to go back to number 15, 16 attempt? I know, I know clearly what the sugar will do to me. maybe I can get away with one bite, maybe, but I'm not risking the chance. Not at the cost that it can for me.
Mhm.
And for me, it's not about the sugar. It's I'm really enjoying experiencing life. I was I was numb. I was just before we went on the air, whatever, I don't know. Before we started the
Yes.
podcast, sorry.
Uh,
Before
yes.
we started the podcast, I said, there's a song that I like that, really motivates me, and I forget the word now, the song now, but
Yeah.
by Evanescence.
I do
Anyways,
too.
I'm forgetting it, but anyways, so it's basically about like feeling dead, feeling like there's no soul, like, and bring me to life.
Mhm.
So, I, why would I want to go back to that guy that was dead inside, that what was in a mental prison? I deserve better than that. I love myself, and I want to love myself even further. I love my son. I love meeting people. I love life. I, you know, I know that I know now that the circumstances in my life are just ways for me to learn about myself, to get the messages, to find my purpose, to find what my strength is, to find my character. It's not, a sign of like, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm whatever. These don't say anything about me. They're just ways for me to learn. So why would I want to run from that? Not anymore.
Awesome. That makes me so happy. Okay. That's so wonderful. I'm glad I asked. Um, and yes, I was listening. So
I didn't mean it like that.
I
It's a
know
good
you
it's a
didn't.
good question. It's a good question, but I had to answer it that way.
Yes, no, I love you. This is okay. So this is fantastic. So, um, and we can get in. There's so much, and it's so nuanced, and but I also want to find out. So now that you've got this, the fog is gone. Um, what do you like? What is your purpose? Like, do you have something bigger than you that you're looking to achieve? Because you've been through so much. It seems, you know.
The only purpose that makes sense to me,
Hmm.
and I don't know how you really know what your purpose is until your form passes on.
Hmm.
But as far as I believe, and I do pray and meditate, and when I meditate, this is what I get. My purpose is to share my experience and hopefully relate with somebody who may have experienced. Everybody has experienced loss or grief, but the way I took it, the path I it took me, or the sexual abuse or whatever it is, and I feel I've got to the other side. I'm not the victim anymore. If there's somebody that can can relate to that and know that there is still opportunity, you're still worth it, you're not any of these events, um and it's okay to dream, and it's okay to want to be happy, like, um I yes, I lost my wife and all these things, but it's okay for me to be happy. I don't, do you think I knew my wife pretty well. I don't think she would want me to be unhappy. I know my son; he doesn't want me to be unhappy.
Right.
So I'd like to be able to. I feel my purpose is to pass that on, and I'm in the works. I'm inspired to. Um, I want my book to be on the book club. So I've
Yes.
been I've been writing a book, even if it doesn't get published. I'm sure you guys won't mind.
Oh, we
We
can't
read it.
wait.
So
Yes.
it's in the works. So um, yeah, and that's what I'm inspired by. That's what gets me in, and that's what gets me up in the morning.
Yes. This is amazing. I can't wait for your book. I know Janice here is saying great words, Ed. This has been fantastic. Like, we still are going to go for a little bit longer, but this has just been incredible. I learned so much that I didn't even know. I thought I knew your whole story. There's so much in there that I didn't know. Um so okay, so the can you give a couple of, I mean, you've really done a really great job of laying all of this out. And anybody that's listening right now in the comments, if you have any questions, Ed is really an open book. Bump. um, so if you guys have any questions, please post them, and we can, bring them up on screen here. But so if there are people that are saying that they can feel that they're the victim, they can feel that they're going through something that they just don't understand, that their story is different. Oh, Mike is very happy how great you sound. Yes, you do. You sound like you're just a God giving all of this great knowledge.
Do I thank the Amazon headset? Is that a plug for Amazon? $29.99, best $29.99 about. Anyway, sorry.
That's probably what it is. No, you just have a great voice. So, anyway, okay. So, shoot, what was I?
Oh shoot, sorry. Any words of wisdom for people who feel
that
like the victim?
that feel like the victim, feel like they have this feeling, like you were saying in the beginning, that you almost don't know what you're feeling. You're just sick of it, and you're just tired, and you're. How do you get out of it aside from finding this woman that's glowing and calling you forward? How do you what would you suggest to them? Not to
That's a
put you on the
great
spot.
no. That's a great question. Well, one thing for me is, like I said, the sugar, those type of things really, really, really messed up my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Just like any, you know, drug, like sugar is just as powerful as heroin. Please don't make me prove it to you. Or people know me, know I'm a pharmacist, so if you want, I can prove it to you. But it's a powerful thing. So if there is some type of addiction, try to tackle that, I guess, first. But the thing is that I feel that's very important is just try, like, where awareness, like, you can't change anything. At least I know I can't change anything unless I know what the problem is. And so, coming off the sugar, trying to talk with other people, like, I went to get help. It wasn't the best help. Like, maybe, like, it took me a while to find what really worked for me,
Mm-hmm.
but they all helped me. And so, just a listening, but to get out of your head. Just believe me, your head is telling you lies. Your head is telling you lies. For just, if you can hear your thoughts, just separate yourself for a second and listen to your thoughts. They're full of crap. They're full, at least mine were. And maybe you can put a different thought in there. Maybe, and if you have to fake it till you make it, that's okay. Maybe you can put, maybe I am worth it. Maybe I do belong. Like, this whole thing, like, the terrible thing about addiction is and not that I'm saying that, if you're addicted, that's the only people who want to commit suicide. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it's horrible when you're addicted. One of the things is you have this sense, I'm pretty sure you have the sense that you don't belong. You have the sense that, you have no connection with anybody. But what do? You isolate.
Right.
And that's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do, because how do you get help that way? Right. So just, if you can, just for a few moments, just even one moment, just stop listening to your thoughts. Stop listening to the BS your brain is telling you, the disease is telling you, and tell yourself something else. Anything you want.
Wow. That's awesome. That is so good. I wasn't expecting that, but that is so good and so simple, yet so hard sometimes when you're locked into that. And this is wonderful. Mary Robin, she says, "Bravo, Ed, for being a fine example, willing to share openly. Thank you for your service this evening, sending lots of love and appreciation." Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that too.
If it's okay, I'm actually quite emotional, but happy. Like I'm really touched. Like I've been, like I can't even believe that I'm saying these type of, like it's me, but
Yes.
it's like I'm hearing myself say this, and it's even impactful hearing myself saying it, and this is how I feel. So I'm relating to myself.
Yes.
I don't know how to say that.
I totally get it. I totally get it. And I can't wait for you to hear it when it's on the audio of the podcast. I can't wait for you to re-listen to it when it's, in YouTube or Facebook. Um, and what I am fascinated is I mean, your full journey obviously has been quite a long path, but just this last couple years and doing it through the pandemic, it's fascinating. And that advice for reaching out to people, even if it's the wrong help. Because I think that was a really good tip, and I don't want to gloss over it, because I think that's one of the big things that we find is that, and again, I'm not an expert, anything. I always want to put that disclaimer because I want somebody to listen to this and think that, um, but we hear a lot that people say, oh, I've tried that. I've tried that. It didn't work. Or I went for therapy and I hated the person and I just couldn't connect. It's not for me. But that one person might not be for you. That one group might not be for you. What I was listening to while you were speaking was how many times you tried things and you were able, and of course it's easier to say now that it just didn't work, and so I moved on to the next thing, and then I went to the documentary, and then I went to Dave's group. So now in retrospect it's easier. Did you find that when you were going through that and it wasn't working and it wasn't you weren't really connecting, that you were feeling like that is okay, it's not for me, and then it would take you a little bit to get into something else? Or were you just you just got to that point that you're like, I need to find my thing?
Well, I guess when for me, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it's going to be for everyone, but
Of course.
after having the conversation with Dave, and I made the choice, and we've talked about this before, the difference I feel between choice and decision, but I made the choice that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be a victim anymore,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to just listen to all the BS my head tells me, because it doesn't, anyways, I'm not going to listen to it all.
Yep.
I
Yep.
I was I was determined to find whatever works. I went to a therapist to help with a codependency, and she was nice, but it just wasn't, nothing was clicking. So then I continued with Dave. I went to food addiction programs. I tried to live like a human being and be useful to other people. I prayed and meditated. I journaled. I found book club. I just kept trying something because I told myself, and I didn't fully believe it, but I told myself I'm worth it.
Beautiful.
I wasn't going to stop until I found something.
It's amazing. Ugh, that's so awesome.
And
Literally got.
my son is worth it too. Sorry, my son is worth it too.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you know what you can't help anybody unless you are helped first. Like you're not good to anybody.
100%.
So, but I had him in mind all the time, and
Of course.
Dahlia, my wife, as well. But
Hmm.
anyways,
Yeah, and that's very clear. And yeah, but I'm glad you said that too, because we do need to take care of ourselves. We can't give from an empty cup. You just can't do it. And people hear that and they say, oh no, but I'm a father. Oh no, but I'm a mother and I need to take care of them. You can't. And what kind of example? But now, oh my gosh, like Alexander has like the strongest daddy ever. Like this is the coolest thing. And Janice here says, we are all worth it. You are worth it. 100%.
if
And
I can add, oh sorry, go
yeah,
ahead. No, please
I was
finish
just
your
going to
thought.
say, Michelle, she says, thank you so much for sharing your story so eloquently. Ed, your story is important. 100%. Like, this is phenomenal.
What I meant, and thank you,
Janice and
Michelle,
Michelle are both.
Janice, and yes, thank you so much. What I wanted to say is, like I said, I was I was going to say lucky again. What's the word again? I was blessed.
Yes, blessed. Yes.
Synchronicity.
Oh, blessed is
I can't
great.
say the word. I was blessed that I was allowed to go and do these, like have my son looked after. But I went to 2 inpatient treatments. Each one was 3 months long. Not no job, no nothing. My son has to be looked after by somebody else. Um, One was over $20,000. The other one's over $60,000, and I got help from my mom to pay for it. So once again, I was synchronized. Whatever,
That's a
I was
great one.
blessed.
That's a great one.
So I took advantage. Like why? Like, anyways, like all these people. Like, and in my head, like when I tell you the lies, oh, I'm not loved by my family.
Mm-hmm.
What BS? Like, look at
Right.
all the stuff that they're doing for me. And I was such a victim in not seeing this.
Mhm.
So anyway, if the help doesn't, like, whatever it is you got to do to get the help,
Yes.
just get it because you're worth it, whatever it means. And then if it doesn't work, what did you lose? Like, what did you lose? You found out
Right.
it didn't work and you try something else.
Right. Huge. Huge. That's amazing. And Kelly here says a lot of people say that they would die for their kids, but not everyone is willing to live. And that's all in capital letters if you're listening to this on the podcast.
That one got
Who
me.
yeah, who would live for them, as in take care of themselves so they can be there for their kids. Kel, it's amazing. Dave is ending again with I love this guy. Yes, Dave. It's incredible. Ed, okay, so will you come back on the show?
All you have to do is ask.
Okay,
So I
so
guess you just asked. So that the answer was yes. Sorry.
I did. Yes. Oh, and mom is on. She says, this was a great subject this evening. Thank you, Ed, for your insight. You and your son are so worth any effort you put in. Live your life. Live your lives. Okay. That I am going to tell you is huge because my mom, she watches it, but a lot of the time she watches it in the replay because I tell her, please don't listen to the video because I don't want it to be like bad audio or bad internet or whatever, because she's upstairs. That's how important this was for her. So she's watching it and commenting and everything. So you're just so inspiring, Ed. And Dave, Ed, I am so proud of you. Yes, I am so proud of you too. Ed, this has been phenomenal. You're going to have to come back on the show. You have so many nuggets in there. And it was just so inspiring, not just your story, but how much you've grown in the last couple of years. So I'm so grateful. Who knows? Maybe you'll be promoting your book next time you come on.
Whatever is meant to be will be, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for being here. This has been the First Day Pod. Thank you so much, Ed, for being with us. I'm actually at a loss of words. I'm so grateful for this conversation. It went way better than I expected, and I thought it was going to be amazing. So, again, if you guys are listening for the first time, we are First Day Pod. We are a mental health and addiction podcast. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at First Day Pod, and join us. We would love to have you in the conversations. Every week we meet at 8:00 live. Next week we are going to have another guest, and she will be coming on, and it's really cool. She does like a recreational therapy, so she's going to be coming on and talking about that. There's Ed. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. I love you guys. I hope to see you guys at the book club. DM us if you guys want any information for that. And we will see you next week. Thank you, Ed. Love you. Big hugs. Yes. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.